Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Ohio Guys podcast here. We have not done these in such a while, and to bring you some more content, we're going to start, this little thing whenever we can. Our topic for today is on HIDIVE, which is on year two, and I'm proud to have a co-host with me here. He's actually a voice actor in Houston, Texas for Sentai Filmworks, and has also done some shows for HIDIVE. He is the podcasting lion, Mike Haimoto.
Hey
Mike,
man,
how you doing?
here. Yeah. I've been promoted to co-host. I like that.
I need someone to help me bounce this stuff off with me. So
I'll take it.
yeah, you are the man. We've briefly touched upon it in the past. Once we were trying to once we did the interview back then, which was around
Right.
winter time. We had like another remake that we had to do. I I just want to share that for those who want to know. Like sometimes we do have to make some redos, at the actor's convenience. So yeah, hopefully by the time this comes out, you guys really have seen it, or it's really up on our YouTube channel on the Ohio Guys channel if you guys haven't really subscribed or checked it out. So yeah, so right now our topic, as I've already touched upon, high dive at year two. So we're excited to just dissect upon what we have here. So Mike, we have now landed in 2019. In the time of this recording, High Dive has chugged along. These 2 years has grown. It has accumulated some great shows over the past 2 years, and it's had some great cast members in it, such as yourself and some of your fellow voice actors. And it has got some great directors behind those shows. So,
The best directors.
so yeah, we could mention them, like great people like David Wald and they
Yeah,
showed
we've got David Wald over there, John Swayze, Kyle Jones, and Shannon Reed. All of them are killing it. Amazing staff of directors over there. So I think the best, but I'm biased.
Sorry. So yeah, as a fan, I'm the guy that likes to watch my High Dive almost every week now. This is part of the whole competition aspect, because there's other streaming services. I think High Dive is unique in its own way, because it's one of the more cheaper revenues fans can get into. Again, it's got its signatures with some of the great shows you got to work on. From Dora Iku all the way to Tyler Never Falls in Love. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think one of the cool things about High Dive too is it's got a great back catalog, because there's a lot of history here in town for anime, and I think the fact that you can be on High Dive and see a lot of new releases like Doreku and Tada Never Falls in Love, you can go back and find a lot from the old the ADV days with shows like Orphan and Get Backers, and some of the older ones that have been around for a long time. Azumanga Daio's on there, which is a great one. So great catalog of shows on there, man. Past, present, and coming up in the future.
oh definitely, yeah. That's the whole thing with the whole dubcast side of the industry, where even though this was High Dive has taken in that part of the business, but at the same time, it's giving viewers some older titles that already has a dub, doesn't have a dub, and along with it, you get the dubcast shows. So it's a great balance. It's it has a lot to offer. For a whole variety of fans out there that are
Absolutely.
either just discovering it or have had High Dive for 2 years, such as myself.
hmm I think one of the cool things about it too is by having that back catalog. I mean, you get to see some older shows, but the interesting thing for me as an actor, at least, is you can see the history of performances from actors that are still doing it. The ones who were really setting the standard back then. The David Matrangas, Lucy Christians, Jason Douglas, Shelley Black, John Swayze, all those guys. David Wald, all the ones who've been doing it forever. and they're still doing it. And now we also have the benefit of getting, a new generation of actors, working their way in, myself included, hopefully, and that keep going. So it's a really cool opportunity to see what's been done and what continues to be done so well by some of the best actors there are in the industry.
Oh, definitely. Like the whole mishmash where fans like myself that are into the whole English dub, I always like to stick around for the credits where I'm like, who was that actor that did the voice? So you either skip towards credits, like see the names, like will I be a veteran or a new blood? As David Wall likes to say, new blood.
Exactly.
It's always great, like getting new actors like in the scene, like they have like a certain voice, like a certain style that directors they listen to and they can hear it, and then they have a reason why they put them in like these newer shows that always come out like every season. Like you, Avery Smith Hart, Savannah Menzel, like
two amazing actresses, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I can go on like the whole list, but just some examples to throw out there. It's just fantastic, like especially like these new, like all these newer shows that, again, like another thing I praise HIDIVE for is when they pick these awesome shows, there's like a strong story aspect to it. Like other companies, they like to either focus more on action or they like to focus on maybe the more risky stuff out there.
Whereas I do think Sentai, HIDIVE, there's a lot of the slice of life and the very human dramas and stories, which, for me as a fan, I have always been some of my favorites. Don't get me wrong, I always love the good action shows and the giant robots, but I think a good slice of life show is something everyone can connect to, and as an actor, that's certainly a lot of fun because you can really attach a lot of emotion to it.
Mm-hmm.
From a director standpoint, you kind of touched on something where, the directors like to find the people that they think fit these roles, and I think for these human dramas especially, they can really, I think sometimes they see things us actors don't see ourselves. I get cast as characters sometimes where I'm like, really? You think that's a good fit? And then lo and behold, the directors know a whole lot more than I do, and, they're right. So they're good at finding the people that can attach themselves to characters in very real situations, and I think that's what's great about the kind of shows you can get on HIDIVE.
Mm-hmm. Especially, like guys like Derek Wald, Shannon Reed, even John Swayze, and Kyle Jones, I gotta throw him in. I know all four of them, they like to challenge their actors. Like, it's easy to, put like a Dave Matranga, like the same character he's done, but like when you guys are thrown into like a different character that you guys have never played before, whether it be a villain, whether it be someone that's got some sort of like psychological issues, like it's a way where you can push your boundaries, probably like break out some an acting aspect of you just didn't have or didn't know you could bring to the table, and that's something amazing with all these shows. Like it's always, you guys are always in a different character, like in each of these HIDIVE or these Sentai shows.
Sure. Yeah, they really give you a chance to branch out and really work on your range, which is something that's an opportunity you're not always afforded as an actor, but the directors here, I think, have a good eye and a good ear for all of that. They can really spot that range in an actor, and they are always happy to take you right out of your comfort zone and drop you into a character that they know you can do, even if you don't know it yourself yet. And I think that speaks to them so well. Just really talented guys.
No, definitely. It's just again, it's a great way for actors to, like I said, not only to enhance their performances, where they'll be ready for another curveball that gets thrown at them for a character, but it also helps build like the resume on these shows. Like it continues to grow because you just, for a fan's perspective, like it also is a curveball to them as well, where now it's almost up for debate, like who is going to be this character in this new show that just got acquired, like not just guessing game, which is always fun, for fans like me to always think about that, like as a new show, and then you think about, okay, which director will be the one to pick it up, and who's going to throw a good curveball at us fans. So
that's the fun for the Redditors and the commenters on YouTube, where they can jump in and start, play the guessing game, and then all of a sudden when the Dubcast announcement comes out, it's, holy crap, that person's going to play that? That's going to be really exciting. So, yeah, it's like a fun, it's like a drinking game at this point.
Yeah.
We think we have an idea as fans and actors who's going to play what character, and then it's always a surprise. So it's a really exciting time for anime, I think, in that regard.
No, it is like this, and that's the thing. That's a unique thing that HIDIVE and Sentai have almost conditioned or almost trained like the fans, whereas do not assume that no, it's gonna happen. Like, we have surprises at you, like at every turn, every corner that we make. Like, they're always ready to surprise us, and that's something unique that they have kind of that they have done for themselves these past, not even 2 years, like maybe like Sentai, I guess, since the beginning. Then I think
it predates. I think that method sort of predates HIDIVE even. Just in Sentai and their home releases. So, yeah, I would say it definitely predates HIDIVE. It's just, I think it's a little more apparent now because, with HIDIVE you're rolling out so much more content consistently, especially with the, dubcasts and simul dubs. You can see it a lot more quickly happening. The pace at which these shows is coming out has really picked up.
No, definitely. And it also amazes me how, Sentai is also even going back into their old library, like shows that were not dubbed back in 2013, 2014, are now being put out there to get dubbed in 2019. Sure. So, and I think this is good. Again, another fan perspective. It's great because these were shows that I don't really touch upon, like sub shows only, because I like listening to the dubs. It's more easier for me, and I like to hear what the English actor would sound like playing these characters. Now we're getting that more now, and also it's great for the actors because now it's more work for them. It's more, there's a bigger pool that's getting dipped into just by going back to the old library. So
sure, yeah, I think there's a lot more actors that you can call upon for these shows now than maybe there had been in the past. And I think it's a great thing for the industry. I think it's a really challenging and competitive thing for actors, and I think that's only going to benefit the quality of these shows.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's going to benefit the actors too, because like I said, we know it's a bit of competitive, but like at least it's a way to a little bit soften that competitiveness. Where now there's if an actor wasn't pulling this show, there's a likely chance to be playing that other show that's
Sure.
getting reached back into that old category.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's competitive, but it's incredibly supportive. I do think it's important for that to be said because, to be honest, we play the same game that the fans play, where a show gets announced and we start guessing which actors are going to be in the roles because we know each other. So we all know each other. We all know the great work that we all do, and we're all, it's a very supportive community, and I think. It's competitive, yes, but we want each other to succeed. And sometimes I'll go for a role, and it'll be a guy like Bryson gets it. I'm like, damn, Bryson. But what are you going to do? It's Bryson. So it's a great thing, and it's a really fun community to be a part of.
Yeah, it's like of all actors we met, like they say the same thing too. It's supportive. You're in good hands with some great directors, with other great actors that you either see, occasionally, in a weekly or monthly basis, or I know you're girlfriends with Avery Smithard and some other actors. I'm pretty sure you guys, can communicate more often, than some other actors who don't have that luxury of seeing or even speaking, each other, as often as you guys we're hoping to get.
The secret is that we're all talking on social media all the time or going out and getting drinks together, so we talk pretty consistently anyway. But I will say it's really just this is sort of a left turn from this topic point. Excuse me, but there's just so many good new people out there because I'm still incredibly new. I mean, I'm as rookie as you can get right now. But there are so many great young talents. I mean, Cortland Johnson's starting to pick up roles. He's amazing. Avery's still very new, even though she's steamrolling through this thing and just her star is just exploding. Kat Thomas is incredible and new. Savannah, there's all sorts of just incredibly young talent out there that's starting to creep in. And, again, we're competing against each other, but at the same time, it's like, Gareth got that part. Well, he's going to kill it, so that's fine. So it's just, it's an exciting time to be an actor in this industry, and I'm just glad that I can be even a part of it at this stage of my career, breaking into it, just to see so many incredible talents around me that I can support and learn from, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an awesome time in anime right now. I'm excited.
So am I. Like I said, right now, since we're in 2019, like, everything is still changing. We're still getting hit by surprises. Like, the whole industry, like, it would never be like the 2000s. It would never be like the 2010s. Even right now, it won't ever be like 2018 again. So we're always gonna have like these new ideas being thrown at us, or like these different directions that both HIDIVE and Sentai will put out for the fans, and then work wise for you actors. It's still a bit of a new concept, in a good way, with just how the shows are being dubbed, how they're being picked up and handled. Like, it's just amazing right now.
The awesome thing is it's also there's new blood in the director's chairs too. You've got guys like Kyle and John who've been doing it for quite a while, extremely successfully. And then you've got some newer people who, like David Wald, who he's been acting for quite a long time, but he's fairly fresh as a director, and you wouldn't be able to tell because he's incredible. But he's bringing in new methods and new ideas and new creative approaches in the way things are done. Shannon Reed is, very young and very new and extremely talented. He's going to be doing it for a very long time, and he does things very differently too. I can tell you right now, all four of them, completely different directing styles, different ideas, different ways of approaching it, different ways of speaking with the actors and communicating their ideas. So it's not even just having new blood from the actor standpoint, because the first perspective that really matters on a show and on a character is ultimately the director's. And I think having new blood coming in on that front is just as exciting, maybe even more exciting than new actors. I'm saying that as an actor. I shouldn't say that, but it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, with the whole HIDIVE aspect, like, another like crazy turn that even fans like me never expected. Partnerships are a big deal. Nowadays, where now they got back with Verve late 2018, and I think that's great for HIDIVE, where it just exposes them to a wider audience out there that did not even know HIDIVE was a thing, and now they get it now. So that's more eyes on the product, and that's more fans that you yourself can get that do decide to watch the dubcast shows from HIDIVE. So I think it's beneficial.
Absolutely. Because really, I mean, it's all about viewership and awareness. HIDIVE is new, so maybe it doesn't have the name brand recognition of some other streaming services, but it will. And I think part of what really helps with that is the quality of the shows that's coming out on it. The more good quality shows come out on it, the more people realize that some of their old favorites are on it, the more people are going to start to really, take a good look at HIDIVE and start subscribing to it. And to your point, those partnerships are great, because if I wasn't in the industry, I don't know that I would know what HIDIVE is, but I know what Verve is, and I would have seen my favorite shows on there, and then instantly, like, where can I see more of this? Well, it's over on HIDIVE. So, to your point, yeah, that's a really important aspect of it all, is just spreading the word, getting more eyes on it. Mm-hmm. And probably that's more work for me, so that's awesome.
Yeah, especially like I said, with HIDIVE just again, it's just the whole aspect of content, like how you're supposed to put out that content, what kind of content you have that's going to cater to certain fans or certain individuals that have a certain taste of certain genres. Whether it be a horror, whether it be drama, action, so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
that partnerships are a big deal. Me as a fan, I've seen it like almost every streaming service or every company, like they have a partner somewhere or right next to them, and that's another part that's different about industries now. Like it's not like the 2000s anymore. Now that we're in 2019, partnerships are do serve a purpose nowadays.
hmm I think also a big thing for just spreading word and raising awareness of the different streaming options you have is social media. I mean, that's such an integral part of it all, and HIDIVE has such an awesome social media presence, especially on Twitter. You can really start to see, I think almost through the social media campaigns or just the little tweets here and there, you start to see the personality and culture of the company itself. And I think that's where people and fans are really going to start to engage. It's just, seeing that little glimpse of the people behind the scenes, I think will really start to, help it spread and catch fire. Then you got the events like Anime at the Alamo, which if you ever go to the Alamo Draft House, they've got, nights that are specifically to screen Sentai shows. And, you'll get actors and directors there sometimes. So it's really, there's so many different ways that word is getting out. And I think it's only a matter of time before it's just, really one of the top, personally I think it's a top tier one already, but I think, before everyone really knows what HIDIVE is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, social media, has played like an intricate part in the whole industry. Like HIDIVE and Sentai, like just the way they interact with their fans or the way they promote the shows, like it's such in a fun way. I've tweeted many times, like either with the HIDIVE or Sentai, within my tweets, or I'm tweeting at them directly. It's just the way they do it, like just the way they bounce off the conversation, and
Yeah,
it does serve purpose.
Yeah, I think that fan engagement is huge, and I think that's why people enjoy it so much, because their voices are heard. They're part of the community just as much as the fans are. So, sorry, that's nothing being there. Don't need that. But yeah, man. Well, hey, you wanted to talk about some of the shows? We should talk about some of the shows.
Yeah,
That's what makes HIDIVE amazing.
yeah. So, like, I remember this was like the second show that came out back in 2018, Dororiku, the animation, and
Right.
I heard about the show, back. And I want to say it's probably like back in December of 2017, where the only image I saw was the whole like the human skull, where with a synopsis about like the whole having like a slave and a master controlling
Right.
it. Again, there was no like promotional picture of it yet, like not with the one we see the cover on HIDIVE didn't have that, but we just found out like it was picked up by HIDIVE, like, oh, this show is interesting. But yeah, I mean, if you want to like just talk about it in your actor's point of view, and then I'll just get more into my fan view. I'll let you dive into that.
Okay. Well, diving into Doraiku, that was didn't really know what to expect going into that. That was directed by John Swayze, who's an incredible voice actor with an incredible career, and did a really great job putting together just an amazing cast, and really did a great job with that show overall. But when you go in there, oftentimes you'll get just a little bit of information where they're like, "Hey, are you comfortable with this?" And then you're like, "Oh, well, okay, yeah, I guess I'm fine with that. Cool, because here's Doraiku, which is, it's out there, man. That show pulls no punches with some of its material. But for my part, I was predominantly in just one episode as a character named Gekko Itabashi. and really just kind of drops in out of nowhere in the middle of the series as this very. I think he's a very unusual character given the rest of the ensemble. You know, it all has a fairly serious tone, and then you just get this idiot who just drops in as the most chuny character of all time. I mean, honestly, I think I played him more like a Saturday morning cartoon character than an anime character on some levels. He's just so over the top and insane. But I think that was, at least for the sake of the show, I think you needed that little break because that was a heavy show. Working on that was really interesting because that was really probably my first time playing a substantial character like him. And I was, admittedly, and I'll be honest with you, actors tend to go through phases of actor anxiety where it's, oh God, is this really what I should be doing? Am I doing this right? Is this the best, what else could I be doing to get better, that kind of thing. And then I got that, and I honestly, this character was like, well, he's huge, so I just said, screw it, I'm just going to go for it, and I just threw everything energy-wise I could into that thing, and I think that character really almost turned on a light bulb for me as a voice actor. It's hard to describe that a little bit, but there's when you're searching through these different Soldier A's and Soldier B's and Monster D's, you know what I mean? You do so much of that as an anime voice actor that it can be a little tricky to find your way, to really find your groove. And so when I got that chance, I wasn't quite sure that I had found it. And then something about playing that character and being able to just throw everything into that character and just dumping all that energy on screen because he's big, it just turned on a light bulb for me where I was like, oh wait, this is how you do anime voice acting. And I really credit, the guys for helping get that out of me. So I owe a tremendous debt to that show. And I really hope a lot of people see it. And by the way, if you want to talk about amazing breakout performances in that show, Avery is terrifyingly good in that. That shows a good mix of new voices and some really good veteran voice actors, and I'd be hard pressed to name performance more impactful than Avery's in that show. I love that show. So I'm curious what you think as a fan because I haven't had the chance to talk to a lot of people about it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I said, when it was first announced, it stood out because it's one of those shows that is not really common or prevalent in the whole anime aspect. Most animes, like I said, it either just takes place in high school. It's going to be another romance comedy, rinse, repeat, almost cookie cutter in a way. And again, back to the whole HIDIVE Sentai, it's always refreshing to almost get away from almost the same genre and get into something like Dororiku where it gives you something new. You're not focusing on high schools anymore. You're focusing on different people, different characters, whether it be a young kid that's probably only 10 years old, all the way to people that in their 40s or 50s that that are way past school at this point. But it's just how they handle this whole scenario where you have a device that can turn people into slaves and you can be their master. And it's great chemistry on what would these people really do in real life if this was happening right now, in their minds, are they going to at least some have some sort of justification of it, or are they just going to go to the demon route and just be exactly what a slaver would do? So it's a great dichotomy on how the show kind of switches from character to character, what their motives are and what their intentions are. So and also it doesn't really show too much this guy's a bad guy because he wants to be a bad guy. No, he has a reason why he does this, or this person might be a good guy, but they're not doing it for good intentions, or they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing this because they have a certain priority why they are going this direction. So that's mostly how I'd like to sum it up.
And I think that's one of the interesting things about a show like that, which is more almost of a psychological thriller in that regard, because it's the complexities of humans and the different things that make us who we are, and then when we are suddenly given this crazy power that they have on this show, how are we going to use it based off of the emotions we feel and the lives we've led to that point? Are we going to abuse it? Are we going to use it for good, like you said? So there's just so many interesting psychological complexities, and I think that's what's really compelling about a show like that.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, and that's something where going back to the whole art aspect, the whole storytelling. It's all about the human interaction, the whole human element, like how is this person going to handle certain situations, like, and again, more of the whole mentality aspect, and that's why we're dissecting this whole show. This is something you could go back to Shakespeare. We have a show like this. You need you need to establish like who's going to be the villain, who's going to be the good guy, but again, there's reasonings behind it. It's
sure, it's not black and white. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's what makes a compelling villain, is they're never black and white, and a good villain never thinks of themselves as the villain, and I think that's certainly the case in a show like this. They are all in their own minds justified in their actions because their goals justify the means, and that's both very terrifying and just very entertaining to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's more of like I said, the whole Shakespeare. I've learned this from Shakespeare, and I'm not sure for those of you who are familiar with it, the ones that listen to this, but that's why we have like a character like Iago. He wasn't, he had a reason the way he was, but like it's just the way he, how he was planning this all out, going from A to B to C, and that's something important with by having, again, not like a villain, pure villain, but like a character who chooses to go down the villain route, like how they're going to carry on. Like, yeah, you stab someone. Did you follow up with a shooting, or why? What was the purpose? Like, did you just do it just for the sake of it? It's got to have like a reasoning behind it. So
yeah, it's fun to watch that character dynamic play out, because one character might view another as a villain, but that's because they're judging their actions through the prism of their own motivations and experiences. Whereas, I'm trying not to get too much into spoilers, even though at this point, if you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing? But, there are characters that you think are villains for a good deal of the show, and then it turns out that they are really after something understandable. And you can almost justify their actions because, we have to ask ourselves, well, wouldn't we do that same thing in that situation? And I think that's why the dynamics on that show shift quite a bit between the characters. And I think that's what makes it so interesting. And I really credit the entire cast for playing that out so well.
Mm-hmm.
And John did, an amazing job as usual, seeing those different threads and plotting the direction of them. So, yeah, God, I love psychological thrillers like that. They're so fascinating.
They are, and that's why this one stood out. Like, what it was, and its premise, the whole concept. Mm-hmm. It was one of the awesome choices that HIDIVE was able to get here and give to the fans.
And that's certainly a risky one, because that's a pretty niche show. Doesn't have the largest following, mm-hmm. But they took a chance on it, and I think at least it paid off beautifully. So hopefully more people will check that out if they haven't yet, because it's certainly worth the time.
Yeah, and like I said, it's something different for, like I said, people to get away from like the same old genres. For those who are anime fans, or people who try to like get into anime but like need something more, I guess, something more mature, something more, like I said, something that's willing to take a risk and willing to, like I said, go into more of the human mentality aspect. So
yeah, it's easy to watch once the kids are in bed. So
that too. All right. just to change up the pace from that show. Uh, Another great HIDIVE show that they were able to get their hands on, Middle Management Blues, Mr. Tonegawa.
Yeah.
And I think another great addition. Again, this is more of the whole comedy aspect, but I like the whole like business world where the Japanese were almost taking jabs at themselves. With the way they present themselves in like
Sure.
business suits, and it was also though educational in a way like like how they show Western audiences like how do the Japanese carry themselves when they conduct business, but at the same time with those little jabs or little pokes
And just a little twist on the kind of business. So.
yeah. Which again, the whole black suits, like how you present yourselves, and I loved how they, also made fun of like their own suits, like, how does a black suit like, what makes a black suit?
Differentiate themselves. How do they make themselves unique?
Yeah,
Yeah, which was the struggle for all of them as well as Mr. Tonegawa himself. Which the frustration on that regard of Mr. Tonegawa was done so well by David Harbold. It's just, I think that was such a fun show to record because as one of the black suits, there's so many that you don't have a lot of lines per episode, but you get to see so much of the insanity happening around it, and I think the frustration of that show is the source of its comedy, and I just don't know that it could have been done any better. And of course, David Wald as the narrator, just building it all to this fever pitch of madness constantly, was just such a brilliant choice. I mean, how odd is that narrator for an anime? You don't get that kind of thing.
yeah, no, it's I just can't stop with David Wald's narration. Like, just draws you in. Just listen to that voice.
And the great thing about a narrator like that is they're never on screen. You can't see their mouth moving, so David can take the time that he has allotted to him and just do whatever he wants with it. And he did whatever he wanted. I mean, he went balls to the wall with that, and I think, it was incredible to listen to. Kyle Jones did such an awesome job with that show, and I think if there's anything I take away from that show, it's that it's really easy. Even at this is going to sound like such an obnoxious actor thing to say. It's really easy among a cast like that to sort of blend into the background because it's so big and there's so many similar looking characters. And just like the frustration of the characters in the show, being able to kind of stand out above that is a real interesting challenge. And I think that was mirrored so well in the show. I think because all the actors were feeling that a little bit. I think that's what was so interesting about that show. But so tell me, I'm curious what you thought of the black suits as a whole.
As a whole, like, this goes back to, again, I keep saying that word, and this one goes to the whole creator, like whether it be the animator or the person whoever decided to make the show. I don't know who it was that made Mr. Tonegawa. Again, with the whole jabbing, I think part of me thinks the creator was probably part of this whole black suits or was observing the whole Japanese business aspect and was sick of it. That's why he either left the whole office cubicle world and decided to express his art for what he experienced and put it into this anime. Left the, I forget what kind of business it was. Like this was either the insurance business or I think it was something like that, and then joined like anime where you can express your art and show like a bit of what this actor saw. So the whole black suits, he was probably like one of them, like, what am I doing here, and like, why do I have to look like the rest of the workers here? Like, there's 100 guys that look exactly like me, from my black suit, my black pants, my black shoes, black sunglasses or shades, haircuts.
The episode where they all shave their heads, so they all look exactly alike for a while.
Mm-hmm. And
I think that was one of the fun things. Is it's almost like the black suits as a whole, even though there's so many of them and they all have their own little quirks. Mm-hmm. As a whole, they're almost like just one character. I mean, really, it's almost like the show has just 4 characters. There's the narrator, Mr. Tonegawa, the black suits as a whole, and then I'm gonna butcher his name. I think it was Chairman Kyoto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you just have those 4 characters, except one of them is this just big, massive idiots, all wearing identical black suits.
Yeah. And again, I think that's another thing that's kind of brilliant from the creators, his mentality, like what makes these black suits different. Like they also don't have that creativity, and we see that like different episodes where they try to come up with ideas, but like they're almost the same bad idea, where they're trying to make money. So you kind of ask yourself, like, in the business world, like how I wouldn't say suppressed, but like how much of a gap there is from creativity. How much of an individual can you even show that in the business world, and more struggles to Mr. Tonegawa, trying to get ideas, but he's trying to get ideas from a whole business that doesn't really encourage ideas or instill that. So it's both a comedy aspect, but when you try to see it through magnifying glass, you kind of see it's a salt field where you're trying to grow creativity from that. So there's that aspect.
But yeah, I think to your point, that is one of the more fascinating things about it. Is it's a guy whose life literally depends upon getting the best ideas he possibly can from this group of people, and this entire group of people has been conditioned to not stand out, not think on their own. To be they're like the Borg. It's just one unified collective mind. They all go bowling. They all wear the same suit, and so he has to just fight and try and keep his sanity and patience to get them to individuate themselves so he can find the ideas that stand out. And of course, then once he does start to get that out of them, they start to splinter off and do their own thing. Some of them, try and overthrow them, basically. And, it just kind of continues to devolve as it's strange. It's almost like they're evolving and then devolving as a result. So, yes, I think that's one of the most fascinating aspects of that show is Tonegawa's struggle to get them to kind of come into their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, there's only so much a businessman can do or can ask of, like a whole unified team like that to, bring something new to the table, something that's got their identity on it. But like I said, it's hard. So yeah, again, that's what I can say about Mr. Tonegawa. Again, funny stuff. Again, just the whole jabs, the whole business aspect. And I still learn, a few things from it, whether it be from the business side, but also when they go to Foreman Otsuki, I kind of learn about the whole food aspect and how a man who works in the mine shaft, how do you keep yourself composed? How do you keep yourself happy and enjoy life once you see sunlight again? Once you're back in society, because everyone that works in the mines, they're in debt to President Kyoto. So it's like I said, another fun little aspect to dive into, and again, made me hungry for the Japanese food there.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was my biggest struggle with that show. Well, and a lot of animes in general. The food just always looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
I watch it and then I'm instantly like, where can I go get that shrimp tempura right now? But so I gotta say though, I mean, my biggest thing, I just will hammer this point to death, is if actors in the anime industry could win Academy Awards, how do we not give one to David Wall for that narrator performance? Because that was everything.
Oh, it was that energy, that delivery. It was just such a great addition to a show like this. That not only did you have an angry boss that was like freak out in his mind, but you have a narrator that kind of puts the emphasis in those struggles.
And it's interesting because as an actor, sometimes you see other performances that sort of inspire you to study harder. And, like, man, if I could just dissect the way someone does this, or let me just watch this repeatedly, listen to this performance repeatedly, and I can learn from this. And that performance is one that you could just, as an actor, you could learn for years from just that one performance as an unseen narrator. And I think that really speaks to the power of that performance. Is you never see the guy, and yet he's probably one of the characters that you can identify the most clearly from the whole show. Without a face, it's amazing.
Oh, it is, and there's sometimes where even it feels like he's there, but like you don't hear, the characters don't hear his voice, but like he's thinking about that in his head. So
Right.
It's like we're in his head as he's watching these whole situations play out, and it's funny because he hits the nail, the head on the nail, or nail on the head. I'm butchering the saying.
No, yeah, I got what you mean. But yeah, he hits the nail on the head. I mean, sometimes painfully so, where it's like, ugh, it's excruciating the way he just calls it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it stand out. Just that whole narration. I don't think any other show can really have that sort of narration, which shows do have narration, but nothing of that caliber. Not when
I have a hard time thinking of a show where a narrator was more an actual living part of the show than that. I think that's an incredibly unique thing that I don't, at least off the top of my head, I can't recall anything else like that. I'm sure I will at some point, but I mean, it's very unusual, if not entirely unique. And I love that about that show because it's just such a strange little blessing to have.
Oh, definitely. It's like I said, like there's ways to how shows or how creators use a narrator, like how do they use him as a tool or to their advantage, when it comes to bringing a show to life. And I think Mr. Tonegawa just went up the ante, or took a very different direction with how they decided to use the narrator. And
right.
And like I said, it stands out, like it's one of a kind right now, where he feels like he's part of the whole of all the characters, like he's almost with them at that point.
Mm-hmm. And anime, I mean, we all know anime can be incredibly exposition heavy because there's only so much in, especially versus the manga, where you can write out some of the exposition to maybe fill in some of the blanks in the story. But in anime, it can be very exposition heavy, where it's just very dry explanations of what's going on. But this had color to it, and personality, and life to it, in a way that I've never seen before. And I think that's an incredibly unique and special thing about that show.
Oh, definitely. I 100% agree with you on that. And I hope to see more shows that, in the future that can utilize a narrator like that, at least, not just be a storybook reader, but like at least engage with like the audience, and like just the way like presenting the situations, in every episode that we got to see in this show.
Right.
So yeah. So
to your point, I mean, I think you put it really well. There's a difference between being a storybook reader and then injecting yourself as a character into the story. Mm-hmm. I mean, the closest I can even think of something like that is, if you remember Princess Bride with Peter Falk, every now and then he's telling the story, but every now and then you get this little injection of Peter Falk's personality, the character in there. Obviously nothing, like the extent of the narrator on this show, but that's what I think takes a narrator and makes them truly memorable, is when it's not just them reading off the page, mm-hmm. It's really being a full character.
Yeah, definitely. Whew. So yeah, that's Metal Management Blues. I always recommend people to check this out. And and again, as I mentioned before, I just thought again it's more of the adults' perspective. No high school, except the memoir of Mr. Tonegawa and his youth. But we are focusing on for the grown adults from the 30s all the way to their 60s. Kyoto mm-hmm. in his probably in his 80s, but we're getting the story aspect from grown men, and you don't really see that often, especially when Kyle Jones even on Twitter, even saying like it's different because he's not worrying about high schoolers. He's worrying about grown adult men.
Yeah, he's babysitting adults. He's babysitting kids. And the thing that sucks for him is his life depends on it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'm ready to change the pace here, where now we can shift, to high schoolers now, with all the talks about adults. Another great show that I always like to recommend people if they want like more love stories or romance. Todd Never Falls in Love, and
yes,
and again, it's unique in its own way because you have a relationship between like a Japanese high schooler and then this girl from Europe. That whole chemistry they have, where we have like an introvert trying to interact, these have some sort of passion for this extrovert girl, and again, David Wald, we always keep mentioning, just one of his great directing works. I believe this is his first ADR work that he has done in a long time. Because
I think that may have been his second one. It was his first or second. I think it was his second.
First for HIDIVE, second, in general.
Right, maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think we got something new out of the show. Like, this is where you got to come in, play the quirky high school friend of Tada, and again, like especially the high school youth, like you always back to the whole characters. Like, you got some serious ones, you got some goofballs out there, this whole variety of of adolescents you have out there. The way they build this friendship, the way they show that camaraderie, and I just love the way they, how Tada was able to surround himself with these, with both in the male gender and the female gender, and it's just amazing. Like, let me just hear your thoughts on this one, and then I'll let you hear about my thoughts.
Oof, so many thoughts, because it's such an incredible show. I really love that, not just because it was a huge break for me and a huge opportunity that David Wald was kind enough to take a chance on me with. But just the characters themselves, and this show is a classic example of why I actually love those slice of life kind of shows, because you get to see these very interesting characters that are very complex, probably far more complex than you initially think they are. And I just gotta say, the cast of the show does it all so well. I mean, Josh Greeley is so restrained and pained in the show, but at the same time, just so charming and likable. And I think that's an awesome thing to do with a character that it'd be easy for that character to fall a little flat, I think, and it never comes close to that with him. And then, I mean, Sarah Wiedenheft, you can't say enough about her performance as Teresa. That was just incredible from beginning to end. I mean, she would do things where I'd be listening to it in the booth and I'd start laughing because you can't help it. And I think there were a couple times where I had to start and stop 3 times because she would do some weird little thing as a character that's just so intensely like cute and bizarre that you're just like, okay, I gotta laugh. But Kaoru specifically was such an amazing character to play. And I think what I love most about Kaoru is I got to attach so much to him because there's a lot of, I think every actor says this kind of thing, so take it for what it's worth, but I think there's a lot of myself that I was able to put into that character. He's kind of like 15 different characters all jammed into one. His personality's so all over the place. But I think at the core of him, for all his flamboyance and all his manic energy and absurdity, he is in a lot of ways the heart of the show. I think he's the one that really, at least in his own mind, feels like he's the one that pulls everyone together and keeps them on the ground, even while he's floating 30,000 feet above. Especially when it comes to his relationship with Tada. I mean, we see in one of the episodes the lengths he goes to on the anniversary of Tada's parents' death, just to to make him smile, to entertain him, to distract him. And I think that's what he's all about, is for all his insanity, it's all about making people smile and keeping them in the moment and happy and full of joy and love. And because I think at the core, he's just the character that is the heart of the show. I'm biased because I love that character. But I think that's what's special about Kaoru. And my God, if David Wall didn't give me the chance to do all the insane things I wanted to try, I mean, he gave me such free reign to be as cartoonish as I could possibly be, which is not something you often get to do in anime nowadays. It's a little more real and restrained, and Kaoru was very much on stage, I think, the whole time. He's an actor on stage with the spotlight shining on him, and as long as it's on him, he's going to make sure you're paying attention. But, then you've got such a phenomenal stable of characters. I mean, you've got Alec, Teresa's best friend, played by Avery, very powerfully. And I think it's such a subtle character, but such a good balance, again, to Teresa, her best friend. And I think that's the interesting thing about the show, is the balance between there's these two sets of best friends, and the way they kind of counterbalance each other and lift each other up and support each other. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the show, is it just really plays to the power of friendship. All of them. I mean, you've got Alpha, you've got the Yamaranian, Yui, the little sister, you've got, I just went so blank on her name, Shanae Moore's character, oh my gosh, help me out.
I'm blinking out too. I know who you're talking about, the one.
She's the model in the upperclassmen, the one crazy about Alpha, who's crazy about her, but doesn't realize that the model he's in love with is her, because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And, played so well by Scott Gibbs and Shanae Moore, and I think that's what's special about that show. It really is just such beautiful human relationships, and the characters are so very real and relatable. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what really makes that show so special.
Oh, definitely. And I think you brought up a great point with the whole dub cast that was behind it. Like, with Sarah, we didn't have like that accent she has. Like, she wasn't just another blonde-haired girl that happened to be in a show that took place in Japan. Like, she brought that realism with her. Like, just the way she speaks, that cute tone.
Whenever strange Middle English way of speaking.
I believe it was a Dutch accent that they wrote said. Don't quote me on that. I know it was something like that, but it was just the way like all of you guys just carried like your characters, and some of you guys like this was either both your first time or being in a HIDIVE show, first time getting to play like big characters in a show like this.
Absolutely.
And I remember when I first heard about the show, and this was back in May of 2018 when HIDIVE first came to Chicago, and they were giving away free posters of this awesome looking beautiful show, which I still have. It's not with me right now, but it had a more artistic appeal to it, where they're standing on the bridge. Like, I think it was beautiful. And
right, the big photo of them all posing for the pictures on the bridge.
And that was something that was kind of unique about the show. Like, when you see like a cover of a show like this, it looks almost like a storybook. Like, it's not trying to pop out your face, like trying to force it to make you read the book, but like it had that subtlety where it's like, hey, this is basically a love story. Like, check it out.
Right.
Like, it kind of drew you into just the imagery. Even their own reflection of the water was art in itself. Like, it was just amazing. Just how how you got a cover like that, and then a show again.
The art on that show is beautiful, and I will say, the whole thing is just very. You're talking about it's sort of a unique love story, and I think you're absolutely right. The whole thing's sort of this modern take on an old Audrey Hepburn film called Roman Holiday. They even make direct reference to that in the opening sequence with them on the scooter and everything, and the friend with the camera. If anyone listening hasn't seen Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn, go see that movie because it's incredible. And the show owes a great debt to that movie. And it's one of those love stories where it's you see it and it's beautiful, but you know it can't work, and then you have to see if it does work in the end. I'm trying to say that without spoiling too much of the show or getting into the entire plot of Roman Holiday, because that would take forever. But I think it's just, there's a heart to it that reveals itself over the course of the show when you start to see what's the true story of Teresa and Alec, what's really, going on with Charles, who was played by Ian Sinclair just masterfully. It adds some depth to to what seems at first like a more typical high school romance comedy. And I think it's just really special the way it plays out. And David Wald, of course, I'm going to keep talking about him because he's amazing, does such an incredible job directing it. He really, truly understands the characters and the motivations, and he gets it out of you so effortlessly. And I think that's why anyone who hasn't seen the show needs to, because there's a true heart to that show, and I think David is absolutely responsible for that.
Definitely. I mean, for me, what I got out of the show was just the whole, not even a culture shock, but I think just the way they, how Teresa brought in her culture, into Japan, and how she really understood the Japanese culture. But both Tada and his friends were better trying to understand her culture as well, from this small little country in Europe, where they're best known for their chocolate spoons, and you just put it in tea. Right. I think it was just interesting, how two people, from two different cultures, were trying to have this relationship, or try to work one out, and that's always unique. When I see, seeing romance like this, there are other animes where it's the way they try doing the whole culture thing. You have a blonde hair, blue eyed character, having falling in love with someone from Asia. It's just the way they really try learning from each other. It's understanding each other's culture, their own country, and I just love it when romances are able to go that far. And then I know there's some other shows where they don't really go that far. Where it'd be an action where there's be a Gundam show where you have different countries
right,
having conflict, or or just a small little I don't know
but this show has a real version of that. It's cultural barriers and differences, and truly that's one of the main sources of both conflict and humor in the show is the cultural differences. And I think it's an interesting thing to mention is just the challenge in localizing a show like that, because when it's in Japanese, it's done pretty easily. The characters speak Japanese, and when there's something foreign happening, it's in English, broken English.
Yeah.
But here it's all in English, so how do you make that work? And I think Marissa Linty, the scriptwriter, and David did such a great job by throwing in some really well-placed pop culture references, using this sort of Middle English way of speaking into this overly formal way of speaking. And I think they managed to translate that cultural barrier, so beautifully, and it's just so fascinating and entertaining to watch.
No,
certainly it's fun to play.
Yeah, definitely. No, you definitely brought another good point. Just the way the whole localization aspect, just how anime how they represent foreigners, to them, people from outside Japan are foreigners. They're a different type of people that they have to sort of juggle. They have to sort of the way they have to pace them, and their own stories, that are basically about them, through their own eyes. So, and I think just it was more easy, here, in the States, just trying to almost tell it from Western eyes, when there's really a Western character in a Japanese setting, and it's with the great people like David Wald that got hands on it, and again Marissa Linty with the script, I think it was just told very well, even where I think even the Japanese probably didn't even know that can be done in such a beautiful way.
Right. I think one of the fun things too about this is, and this was just one of the most fun things about doing it, were some of those little pop culture references that tossed in there. I mean, we had so many in there. There was Ghostbusters. There were Shining references, Looney Tunes references. I'm pretty sure there were some Disturbed lyrics in there at one point. And then just Marissa having way too fun describe the different ways to say breasts. So that was just a lot of fun to record that. And I'll share this little story because I love telling this to Avery. Is when I was recording, one of the big things about Kaoru is the way he's constantly chasing after Alec, Teresa's best friend. But he obviously irritates the heck out of her, and she is comically usually pretty abusive towards him. I remember what I would do is I would get into the booth, and whenever it was something between me and Alec, I would play it as if what I would do is I'd say, what would irritate Avery the most? So it's never what would irritate Alec the most. It was always what would irritate Avery the most, because I usually got in to record before her. So I'd go in there and I'd just do my best as Kaoru to piss Avery off. And I think then, she would hear it, and I think she'd get kind of pissed off. And I think you would really get that through Alec, and I think that was a lot of the fun, part of that dynamic of the relationship between those two characters, because I just happen to know how to push her buttons.
Wow, that's some awesome insights.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, great. God, everyone needs to see that show, and I have no ideas on how you would do this, but if there should be a sequel to that show. No ideas. Don't ask me to propose a plot for it because I've got no idea. That's not true. We could do Kaoru as an Iron Chef. Go.
That'd be a sight to see.
What?
All right, so we're still on the whole love train here. Another one that you got to be part of, and you really mentioned this earlier, was Real Girl, and I gotta say, like, it's as real as you can get, as the name implies.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, how about we're gonna mix? I think we should mix it up this time. I think you should tell me your thoughts first.
Okay, for sure. I'm happy to. I think this is a bit just the way the story, like, through the eyes of a otaku or a huge nerd of the anime scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was like either both way to kind of like have like a little homage, to people who are otakus, both in Japan and those outside of Japan. What it's like to really have a romantic relationship with someone who is not in that subculture. And I think it was just done well, like from the beginning, how they start having building that relationship. Then as they really start like having that relationship,
right? And
then towards the end, where they're able to go a little further. I really don't want to get too risky with my words, but
this is audio only, so we can't put a black bar up. But they go places.
Yeah, I think it was just just able to go further, like again, standing out from other romance shows where at most the whole story is just them trying to get with each other, but this one it really has like the certain chapters where like they're beyond where they really got to each other.
And it's getting together and then staying together despite the difficulties around that.
Rather be just people around them, whether they approve their relationship or not,
right.
Or just life plans where nothing. Anime kind of does a great job is how do high schoolers how are they going to plan their future, and I love when animes do that, like, and the Real Girl was able to be part of that. What happens to high school, like, once they get near graduation, once it's been after graduation and beyond graduation, like what kind of careers, what kind of life are they going to be getting once they get into their 20s, mid 20s, late 20s. And I was happy that Real Girl was able to get on that, and again, without getting to spoiler territory, just how Nathan Wilson's character was able to to overcome like certain obstacles.
Absolutely.
And again, this is a nerd, where you kind of really expect too much, but then you are surprised on the way he's able to handle certain situations or the way he thinks through certain situations. You get both we hear like his thought process, and also fans or viewers, I like to say, like, he's not saying like out loud like in his voice like in like playing that Shakespeare comedy, but like you still get that whole Shakespearean tragedy with the show. So
Sure.
and again, like, you get like the whole like man versus man, or man versus himself. I should correct myself. Man versus society, because he is sort of seen as a bit of an outcast with society, and
Right.
him trying to to maneuver his way through that, like how he's supposed to you know like just have a better image of himself with society. And I know a lot of people who are otakus like that. I'm pretty sure they've felt the same way as the main
Sure.
character.
I think Nathan does a great job of it, and Shannon Reed, real quick. I mean, he certainly is someone who he does his homework. I mean, when he does these shows, no one studies and understands the relationships between these characters better, and he really explains it very well. The circumstances these characters find themselves in, and sort of the emotional places that they're coming from. And I think one thing he and Nathan did really well with that character is this idea of struggling with inadequacy. I mean, is he good enough for this person? They're from two different worlds, and finding his place within that and seeing that there's no such thing as different worlds. We're all in the same place, and you are exactly good enough for this other person. And I think Nathan played that struggle really well, and I think Christina did an amazing job, holding his hand through that process, as Iroha. So I think one of the best things about that show is it's just such a personal and real thing for a lot of people. I think a lot of people can connect with that idea that I can't be with this person because I'm not good enough for them. Or suddenly now that I'm with them, what if they realize I'm not good enough for them and this happens and they go away, or this happens and I screw up, Or, shoot, we're still together, what do we do about this next step? I don't know how to handle that. And I think Christina and Nathan did such a great job with it, really.
No, well, they did. And again, the whole relationship, like, and like again, the whole otaku, no non-otaku, like, you can even see in the show, like, how Christina's character Iroha is trying to learn about his world, and at the same time, like, she's trying to like kind of show like her world to what life is outside the whole anime scene. And
Right.
again, it's just the way like it can be done. Like, how do two people like interact? How do they shed light on each other's world? How do they understand each other's world? Like, why are they the way they are? Why are they who they are? And why are they part of this side of the world? So, and
Right.
it's amazing that a show like this can illustrate that.
Yeah. And I think to your point, one of the biggest struggles is the pressures of the people around them. Whether it's friends helping them with things, or telling them no, this isn't a good fit, or having people like Chiga, her brother, quote unquote, saying no, you can't do this. This is absolutely unacceptable, and struggling through that to maintain the relationship. I think that's something the show does really well.
Mm-hmm. And since you mentioned your brother, like just the family, and I like not how again with romance is like, now how does the family what are their thoughts, like the way, like, do they approve of this relationship? How do they interact with whether it be a son or daughter or sister or brother, like how does that family, like, how do they interact with that person's significant other or the person that their soulmate, however you want to phrase it.
Granted, in this case, I mean, his motives are a little bit suspect when it comes to that, so... Mm-hmm. He's got his own, reasons for not approving of the relationship, where, I know this show just finished airing on HIDIVE, so we probably don't want to get too much into the details. But, yeah, I mean, the brother's approval is one thing, but I think, we all see pretty quickly that his motivations are pretty selfish in that regard.
Yeah, and, and it does, imitate, like, art imitates life. Like, there are people in real life that are like that, that just don't improve.
Hopefully
So
not.
it does illustrate, like, paint a painting, like, having certain family members that probably do go down your character's path because they have their own reasons. So and again, you can't say they are completely bad guys because they don't prove this character. It's just their thoughts are probably misplaced for one reason or another. So,
yeah, and I will say one interesting thing about him is sort of... this surprised me, honestly, even as an actor, and I think just towards the end of it, he finds this strange little bit of honor and redemption, where he maybe sees... I don't want to say he's something cliche like he sees the error of his ways, but I think he sees what's right for her and what's best for her, and then redeems himself a little bit by allowing her to have that, or helping her to find it, because I don't think he allows her to do anything. But he certainly is willing to reconnect her to it.
And I think it's got to do a bit of, like, more of a maturity aspect that probably, like, that's nothing about, shows like these, character development, like, how does a character change from, like, a certain time period, like,
sure.
If they, again, with the whole time frame, I don't want to spoil too much on how, timelines here, but when people do watch a show, like are they the same person, or do they have, like, the same thoughts as they did, like, this long ago, or is this the time where, like, they start seeing things in a different light, and it's just how they commit to certain thoughts, and we got to see that with your character, the brother. And I think, that's probably, what we got to see. Like, okay, this is not the same guy we just saw a few episodes ago. Like, he probably grew up, became, was looking through the eyes of an actual adult rather than a young teenager,
right.
in high school. So,
And, even when he was young, I think there are shades of that coming through in different moments where, that sense of sort of what's right, or I don't want to say what's right, but that sense of honor is kind of there, I think, in different little unexpected moments. The very first time you see him, he punches the main character in the face and breaks his glasses, and then when he realizes the main character doesn't have any other glasses, or that they were important to him because of a sentimental reason, he takes them and goes out and fixes them, because that's what the right thing to do is. Mm-hmm. So he's got a strange sense of what's right and wrong, but I do think there's a sense of right and wrong there, and that kind of works its way in unexpected moments and then builds towards what happens at the end of the series.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. So, like I said, like, we are seeing, like, and it's not just your character, like, everything, all the characters, like, both Iroha and soon I keep forgetting Nathan's character. I was about to say, I know it's soon, that's what Iroha's character says.
Right.
But even they, they seem they are still growing up as, episodes go by, like, the way they, they used to kind of interact, the way they used to talk in a certain way, like, it still changes, and, with relationships, like, it does happen in real life, they either grow up with each other, they start learning certain things or start seeing things in a different perspective as a relationship, goes on. And I think it's just amazing, like, how the show story, takes that, to their advantage.
Yeah. I think that's credit to, again, I think that's credit to the cast, but also, it should be pointed out what a great job I think Shannon Reed did with that whole show, as per usual.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And again, it's great just having certain actors behind those voices that can portray just the way they sound, like the way they can sort of struggle with their characters. And I just, like I said, back to Nathan, he played that being a nerd very well, and just the struggles he went through. Same thing with Christina Kelly, the way she's able to play almost what's the word? Almost like a dismissive, more of a kind of like dismissive personality where it's just her and like what everyone thinks about doesn't matter to her. And just even Adam Gibbs, like the way he can play that kind of douchiness very well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then same thing with Olivia Swayze, John Swayze's daughter, the way she can play that. What's the word? Almost like a valley girl type of personality, and she
Sure.
executes that very well. And again with you, and I believe this is kind of almost the first time where I kind of heard you, almost as, what's the word?
A jackass.
What another word for that? But it's still there.
Yeah.
Overprotective, like just the way you can play that. I had to wait till the end of the credits to see who it was. I'm like, oh no way, it's Mike.
It's certainly different from Coward, that's for sure. Yeah.
It is. So again, because I was so used to hearing your goofy characters just having the time of life, just with everything, and playing this character. I'm like, oh wow, it didn't even sound like you either. So again, that's more to acting chops where fans just get caught off guard and get surprised.
Well, and that's one of those. We touched on this a little earlier, and again, just full honesty, that was a character that I wasn't. It's not one I would have thought I could play from the beginning, but Shannon saw something and said, "Yeah, I think you should play this guy." And then Shannon said it. The way Shannon once said it to me is, "Do you remember Aladdin? Do you remember when he says, 'Do you trust me?'" And then you just kind of have to trust them, and I think it paid off. It was a lot of fun doing that. It was a great experience for me as an actor to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Just you even surprised yourself too with what you perform with.
Yeah, and the best surprises are the ones that you can surprise yourself with.
That's where the train stops right now. I guess we really dissected the real girl and the whole love aspect. Another shifting gears that I'm also happy to get into, Suriname, and now we get to talk about the whole archery aspect. Again, more of a low key, more of a down to earth type of show. I guess you want to hear my thoughts on this one.
I absolutely do.
So again, for fans, guys tuning in know about the show. Again, yes, it's about it's sort of about archery, but in the same way it isn't. We are in the story of a fallen prodigy, who was able to capitalize in the sport of archery in his middle school days, but lost his handle on being this great archer, and how he's has to go through high school life, by friends who want him to be back in the archery, and then there are those that either don't really see him as this even an archer that was even a beginner. And I think it's amazing just how he's trying to almost rebuild himself from the start, almost like a phoenix, and just the right people, like the right mentor, the right friends that are trying to push him to get back on the saddle. And I just like the whole camaraderie where it's not just about him trying to get back his lost skill that he has honed when he was younger, but you get to see his friends like they have their own struggles too. Trying to become better archers, and again with the whole genre aspect that we got to touch upon, sports anime really doesn't get appreciated as much. Even at one point, and back then, even like sports shows were not getting dubbed as often, or no company would dub it. And High Dive, picking up a sports show and then dubbing it, was double the surprise for fans. And again, the story it had with it, just how they were going from like different chapters from the beginning with a great master, who was also has own struggles, became a teacher to these high school boys,
right.
At the same time trying to repair this fallen prodigy's archery skills, trying to take them as far into nationals for the school. And I think it's just amazing the way it told the story. The animation was beautiful, the pacing, the timing. And in a lot of ways, it kind of almost felt like we were watching like a movie. It just the way the camera angles like focus on their hands, the archery, the bow, the way the arrows would be released into the target. I think it was just beautifully animated. Just the way it tried like balancing both the story and its animation.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more intimate than I think the typical sports anime is. One of the other ones we've got is Haikyuu, which plenty of people are familiar with. And this is certainly a very different tone from Haikyuu. This is a much smaller, more intimate, dramatic character story than I think the typical sports anime is. And I think that's something that's really interesting about Tsurune. And I think as a result, you get some really good, strong, emotional performances from guys like, Bryson and Cortland Johnson and Gareth West and, just an entire cast of great actors really connecting, I think, in a way that a lot of sports animes typically won't.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's, again, just the way how a sports show is handled, like, what's the focus? Like, again, we can go... I can touch upon like other shows where they focus on sports, but like it's just about like the team trying to like win the big leagues, trying to get a first place trophy. But like they do have like their own little struggles here and there. But it's just with Tsurune, the way it tries to try tell the story of this guy who again almost didn't want anything to do with archery ever again. Was about to live his entire life without archery ever again, and just the way fate ends up bringing him back into that life that he was going to abandon, and then all these characters trying to improve themselves and him, both physically and mentally. It's just really hard for any sports to try and like get into that aspect, because it's almost trying to just trying to like get into like uncharted territory, but like again,
I mean archery itself is a more thoughtful and pensive, quiet sport. It's not a big action game like basketball or volleyball or football. So I think the very decision to use archery sets up the tone of the show really well as being more introspective and thoughtful and deliberate in its pace. And I think that's where you can tell a very different story.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I agree with you on that one. And, even the show says it too, like it's not just about, pulling a string and then hoping for the best at hero target, That goes into archery. Like you have to have the right mindset. If you want to hit that target,
right.
Every movement you make, whether it be sitting on your knees, standing, even the motion of pulling back the string, it's all has its own little mechanics, own little intricacies, where you have to pace it correctly, and it's just I think it was just great having that story aspect of this character, trying to like I said, start from scratch all over again from
Absolutely.
one. Get
Yeah,
back.
find that clarity and that focus and that sort of internal stillness all over again. And I think that's what the show does a really good job of showing is it's the characters that start to succeed are the ones that are finding a little bit of self-assuredness and clarity of thought, and the ones that start to struggle are the ones that have it and start losing some of that stability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this can be applied to almost anything. Like I think and it's not just archery where anyone can just lose their whole ability to be a great archer. And I'm pretty sure if IQ had the same concept where you have a great volleyball player can't play volleyball anymore, I'm pretty sure we've gotten like a different story out of it. And I just hope we can see something similar to this with like other sports shows where how would a character who was once supposed to be the next big thing, probably going pro, how would they, would it matter if they were in a different sport that would be more competitive, more engaging, and that's another question I like to ask myself, like could this, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it has an answer. I think any athlete can fall victim to losing their whole skill set, and I hope to see more of that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not that I would like to see someone in real life suffer from this, but like
no, but in a show, I think it's okay to see that struggle.
Yeah, and just try to reform themselves and try and look at what they were doing before in a different light, and same thing, he wasn't going learn everything exactly the same way. He had to learn everything in a new way, even if it would take longer. But get back into that rhythm and getting back into that whole routine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it just did a great job. Just having just having us the viewers watching this character grow. From this guy who felt empty, almost didn't have much of a life, and then suddenly coming back and trying to rekindle that burnt out light that they had.
Right.
Yeah. So. Yeah. What a show. So yeah, I guess that concludes our podcast. I just want to thank having a co-host Mike here join me, just dissecting, just breaking down all these amazing shows that HIDIVE has given us. This past year or so. Since April of 2018.
Right.
Again, and it's brought some great actors, new ones again like Mike, Avery. All these great people that we hope to see again. Both HIDIVE and Sentai shows.
Yeah. I think you will. I think you'll see a lot more of us as we kind of continue to grow in the industry.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, and that's what we fans like me hope to see. So, all right, friends.
Well, thanks for having me, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
I've never been a co-host before.
Well, hopefully we get to do this again sometime in the future. Again, it was this was just a great way for us to just look at HIDIVE and all these shows in a different perspective. You actor, getting to see it both in my perspective, and I think you learned some great things from me. I learned some great things from you as well.
Always, man. Yeah.
All right, friends, and again, you guys are our friends. Thank you for sticking with us with this podcast. Keep an eye out for any more in the future. Keep an eye out for some other interviews that we are still working on nonstop. Again, this concludes the HIDIVE topic of this podcast. Thank you all. I'm Christian, and he's Mike, and we will all see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.